Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ed Walsh with ASCSP. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We think we've got a great virtual learning summit for you to participate in over the next 2 days. And what I'd like to do to start is just kind of give you a little bit of a heads up on a few things. For those of you that are familiar, you know you're going to see polling questions. Answer those, if you will, please, during the course of the presentation. If you want CPE, we have to be able to show NASBA that you participated. You attendees will be muted during this session unless you raise your hand and you ask a question, but what we would prefer is that you ask your question, write your question in on the questions function, and that way I can read them to Eric as we go along and keep things running smoothly. The slide deck is available. We do record the webinars, so if you want to take another listen to it after the fact, I know I had a few folks who couldn't be with us today who asked me if it was going to be recorded, and yes, it will be. If you experience audio issues, there's really nothing we could do on this end, so my best guess is to call in on the phone. That might alleviate the problem. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to Eric's screen, and we'll get things started. Eric, you're going to get a share.
Okay.
You should have a box that says share screen.
I do have a box that says share screen. Sorry. But I'm clicking on it and nothing's happening.
Uh-oh. Let's try that again. There you go.
Can you see the presentation?
Yep, you're there.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ed, for the introduction. Brief introduction to myself. My name is Eric Weitzer. I'm a senior manager at Baker Tilly, in charge of the construction real estate fixed asset practice. I've been with ASCSP for over 10 years, 6 years being a certified member. This morning / afternoon, if you're on the East Coast, case study will be more beginner to advanced beginner case study, while Derek's this afternoon will be a little more advanced. I did pick a residential rental case study because, as I'm sure with a lot of you, 40 to 50% of my current work is residential. It's a hot market. So I thought, what better than to look after a residential case study. The agenda today. The goal from start to finish over a residential study, starting out with the proposal process and information gathering, what to do and how to prepare for a site visit, a little bit of project analysis, and then tax planning for residential real estate, and review a court case that is applicable to residential. So it all starts out with either an internal or external client reaching out to you for a costing proposal. What we know about the property from the client's email. We know it's a residential rental property with multiple buildings, clubhouse, and a pool. It was acquired in 2022 for $25 million. These types of emails are very common internally and externally. It's our job to guide our clients on what information is necessary for the proposal process. So what other information do we need? Reply to client requesting additional info. For us at Baker Tilly, the bare minimum items needed for a proposal are the closing statement and the appraisal. Sometimes the appraisal wasn't done, so you got to work with just what you have. The closing statement includes the purchase price, including any closing fees, acquisition date, entity name, and address. Most important being the purchase price, right? But it's all helpful information, including the address. And I'll kind of get into that later with Google Earth and what you can do with Google Earth in the proposal process and also the analysis. The appraisal form was done includes property description, including number of buildings, square footage, amenity, and units. Photos of the property, sometimes a survey, which is really helpful, land survey, showing all the land improvements in the building and everything. And even more importantly, a land value possibly. Well, you can learn a lot from the appraisal as to what the fee and benefit for a project will be. And this is where you can kind of discuss with your client land value, right? If the appraisal has a land value, we always take that as law, right? But what if there isn't a land value in the appraisal? Where do you go after that? You can look at the property tax assessment, see if that has any reasonable value for land. You can look at land comps, and your last ditch effort is to ask the client what they think is reasonable. IRS does not allow tax professionals to value land, so we kind of look at what information we have, and then at the end, if there's no good information, you got to go to your client. Some other items to ask for during the proposal process are the latest property tax statement, which I reviewed previously, breaks out land and improvements. Property condition report, very helpful if they have it. It will help with many things, including wear and tear on assets, and possibly what they're going to do to remodel in the future. Number of different types of units in each building. Are there any identical buildings, or are they all different? Any blueprints, floor plans or room plans? All these will impact the fee. Was this part of a like-kind exchange? Just a little story about that. I did a really big proposal on 10 different buildings and went through the whole process, probably took a half a day, maybe a day. And at the end, the client said, well, these were all part of a like-kind exchange, which is bad to know on the back end, right? Because you did all that work on the front end. Turns out only 3 of them made sense to go forward with. So from now on proposals, I ask that on the front end. So just kind of learn from your mistakes. And the last one, are there any plans for future remodels, including any preliminary budgets? Always ask for this information too, just based on, repairs and maintenance, that kind of stuff. Just want to make sure that, you're valuing everything correctly. Additional resources you can look to on the proposal process and also the analysis. Google Earth. I always use this for initial scoping of big projects. It's also a good last resort tool for site estimation. I don't know if any of you guys use it for that. County assessor's website, that will, like we said, give the assessed values as well as sometimes other property info. I even found some that have actual land surveys, so very helpful to check out. Apartments.com or any other apartment websites usually include about 20 to 30 photos of each property, and sometimes they have actual virtual walkthroughs of floor plans, which is really helpful. Any other real estate software your firm may utilize? Obviously, the last 2. Review past projects of similar size for fee estimates and benefit estimates, and bounce potential fees off of team members before sending the engagement. So now you're all set. You have all the information you need. It's time to send your client a benefit estimate and engagement letter. Your client attaches a breakout of 15 5-year property with accelerated depreciation results. By doing the classic project, you would receive over $6.7 million of first-year depreciation. The total project benefit will be over $1 million based on the results of the study, your combined federal and tax state rate, and discount rate. The fee for this project will be X. Thank you. You can see there's two photos here, kind of showing before and after results. You can see before, land is broken out, but nothing else. And then we actually broke out 10% of 15-year property for $2.5 million and 16% of 5-year for $4 million. The next picture is kind of showing a depreciation for the first 10 years. Obviously, before and after, you can see the large 6.7 million of depreciation in the first year, based on 100% bonus of the 15 and 5-year, and then the 27.5-year depreciation. Poll number 1, Ed. This one goes out to Travis, our fearless leader. You there, Ed?
Yeah, I'm here. It's loading.
Okay, great.
Folks are voting. I don't think Travis is going to like this one.
Well, he's got to deal with it.
Okay, I think we're just about there. I'm going to close it out. 53% said 0, 20% said none, and 28% said zip. They all kind of come to the same thing.
Yeah, they had some good years, but.
All right, you're on. Back to you.
Thank you, Ed. Is a site visit needed? Does an acquisition project require a site visit per ASCSP? And the answer is ASCSP requires that a site inspection must be completed on any acquired property where there's not sufficient information available to perform an analysis. This includes cost details, blueprints, and other information about the history of the property. And then there's a rule about retail and restaurants, which I don't need to get into. Oh, excuse me. Traditional site tours require travel time and expenses, which is time consuming and expensive for the client. What are some alternatives, right or wrong? I'm not saying that any of these are right or wrong. It's just, what are some alternatives? Client takes photos with your guidance. Probably not the best option, right? Sub out the site visit to someone who does them very often. Have a client do a Teams or other video walkthrough of the facility and record it for the file. I think this is actually becoming a little more common. And in the future, maybe drone footage, no clue. Nothing will be as good as doing a site visit yourself. You know what info and pictures you need better than anyone else. After reviewing all the information you have. Who should you set up the site tour with? There are property managers. They'll have knowledge of the different types of units throughout the property, the finishes, that kind of stuff. Facilities manager, that's probably my favorite. More knowledge of HVAC, plumbing, and electrical systems, or the client, which is a good last resort. Number of photos taken and the time on a site visit should be determined by the information provided. Requesting and receiving all the info before the site tour is very important for that reason. Review everything and have a plan of what you need to take photos of and ask questions about before the tour. Photos to take on a site visit. Purchase price allocations, obviously you need more photos than new construction. New construction, you have great information, you have cost, you have blueprints. We don't always get that on purchase price allocation projects. For an allocation with limited blueprints, I like to take pictures of each side of the building You may need to do a complete exterior wall analysis from the photos if blueprints aren't available. All the land improvements that need to be counted. If you don't have a good site drawing, this is very important. I will take extensive site photos, so I may be able to count back in the office and identify all the site from those photos. Extensive lobby, common area room, and hallway pictures, if there are common areas. Extensive photos of each type of apartment unit, obviously. And in that, get all the finishes, lighting, cabinetry, appliance, maybe be able to count the outlets, fire alarm systems, etc. Most important to me, like on not only residential, but other projects as well, is to get a photo of the electrical panels. This will allow me to break out a percentage based on that as to personal property. And then pictures of the mechanical equipment as well. Personally, me, I take over 200 photos of multi-building residential properties. Sometimes it can get up to 400 if there's a lot of stuff. I always ask a lot of questions during the tour, take notes, and grab business cards at the end in case you have any follow-up questions. Poll number 2, Ed.
Sorry about that. Got reading something.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, it's loading. I think you're gonna like the answer.
This one goes out to our new vice president, Eric Weitzer. Not to be confused with Eric Weitzer.
Okay, we're almost there. 85% voted. I'm gonna close it out. You see the results? Presidents 18%, Washington football team 23%, anything but Commanders 60%.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Commanders wasn't a very popular name. They actually did a big poll in the DC area about what they should name them. All right, we all set?
All set.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Now we get on to more of the analysis part of the project. All the proposals done. We've done the site tour. Now it's time to sit down and get down to the analysis. Number 1, do we have any detailed site plans? If so, great. We're at a great spot, right? If not, do we have an ALTA survey? If neither, can we get a good site photo off of Google Earth or any other real estate software? We can use the appraisal for any site information, including acreage, what utilities are on site. And then, we perform the detailed analysis on paving, landscaping, site improvements, site utilities, building site prep, earthwork, portico shear or canopies if they have them. Light poles, trash enclosures, exterior bollards, signage, accent lighting, swimming pools, railings, stairwells, vehicle charging stations, whatever we can come up with. Here I just kind of did a Google Earth photo of a residential complex. You can see there's a number of different types of buildings in this complex, 5 or 6 if I remember right. 2 separate swimming pools, clubhouse office. You can see most of the paving. You can get a pretty good idea of what's going on there. You can even do some sort of analysis on this. Like I said, last resort, it's not the best, but they will give you a little scale where you can measure out stuff if need be. Some of the buildings too, you can even get down to an eye level where you can see exterior walls, windows, doors, and that kind of stuff too. Like I said, it's not the best option, but it's a good backup plan, as long as it's reasonable, right? Just got two pictures here. Porch chairs, canopies, whatever you want to call them. What kind of explain why one I would view as 27.5-year property and one I would view as 15-year property. The one on the left doesn't have a common roof, has its own separate foundations. If you removed it, probably wouldn't do too much damage to the building. Whereas the one on the right, you can see it shares a common roof. If you did remove it, it would make significant damage to the existing building. So I would view that as more 27.5-year property, where the one on the left I would view as 15-year property. You also see there's some sconces, accent lighting, and the like. So, and what to do for estimation? You have a foundation, frame, exterior wall, soffits, roof structure and cover, and electrical or fire protection. The next thing for site we have is water service to the building versus fire hydrant service. Kind of did a little, I asked the client first if I could use this, even though there's nothing proprietary here. If I could use this and all the photos, obviously, but you can see the water service starts down by the blocking per on C2-1 up and over to the building, 120 feet of 8-inch water line. And then you can see a break off of 20 feet of 6-inch water line to the hydrant. Because that's not really a building service, I would take the fire hydrant and the 20 feet of water service to the hydrant as 15-year property, whereas take the water service to the building as 27.5-year property. Oh, went too far. Now that you've done the analysis for the 15-year property, the analysis for the 27.5 and 5-year property is next. Obviously, we've seen all these before, right? These are all the construction divisions. You know, on a cost segregation for a new property, you may have to do, 4 to 8 of these for further estimation to get the 5-year property out. For an allocation, we have to analyze everything, right? Building. Some of the construction divisions that don't have any 5-year property can be analyzed on a simple square footage basis using cost info from Marshall and Swift Beck or Means. A more detailed analysis, and I've just chosen 5 to gloss over. Obviously, there's probably a couple more on these construction divisions. Millwork and carpentry, finishes, plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. That's probably where we spend a lot of our time on allocation projects. First, the millwork and finished carpentry. You'll have door and frame installation, wood baseboards, wood floors or ceilings, decorative wood accents, like you can see the picture on the right, chair rail for assisted living facilities, chrome molding, all kitchen and common area cabinetry and countertops. Obviously, that's where we get a lot of our benefit for residential property, and bathroom vanity countertops and cabinets. I'm not saying these are 100% the correct lives for any of these divisions, just kind of what we do at our firm. Some people may take wood baseboards, and I'm not going to disagree. They're very removable. They're decorative in nature, but I think we've lost an audit on that, so a long time ago, so we just don't do it. Finishes, you have your carpeting, obviously, vinyl plank flooring, composite tile, ceramic tile flooring, paint, vinyl wall covering, vinyl and carpet baseboards. Sometimes those are kind of ignored on an allocation project. Acoustical tile ceilings, epoxy flooring, fitness center rubber flooring. Obviously, I didn't list all the finishes that are in an apartment residential project, but you know, these are kind of the main ones. Pretty standard to the lives. I think everybody agrees on those as well. Building plumbing, water closets, lavatories, bath showers, laundry washer hookup, refrigerator ice maker, kitchen sink, garbage disposal, dishwasher connections, gas service to HVAC equipment, fireplaces, fire pits and grills, pools, hose bibs, water heaters, and water softeners. For water heaters and water softeners, a lot of people just would probably leave it as 27.5 year. I kind of view it as an electrical panel, right? There's a certain amount of percentage that's dedicated to personal property. So I will take that as personal property. You know, in residential, maybe 30%, 30 to 40. Building HVAC, gas furnace, magic pack unit, you can see to the right. Condensing units, PTAC units, rooftops, exhaust fans, makeup air units for garages, exhaust fans for bathrooms, exhaust duct for range hoods, dryer ducts, split system AC for data closets, electric unit heaters, baseboard heaters. Sometimes in the older properties, you even see some gas boilers, although, you know, not as much as we used to, and also snow melt systems. That's more common with Travis and I in the Midwest. You have to do it because there's so much snow, and they put in snow melt systems basically when you enter the garage, so that it's not so slippery. Electrical, all your electric to HVAC equipment, plumbing equipment, general outlets, occupancy sensors, all your fire alarm and smoke detectors, elevator equipment, general lighting, troffers, cans, ceiling mounted lights, accent lighting, pendants, tracks, wall sconces, vanity lights, data jacks, cable jacks, ceiling fans, and then obviously your dedicated outlets to appliances, laundry equipment, office equipment, exercise equipment, data network equipment, and televisions. Just a discussion. It's not right or wrong. I would probably take the dedicated outlet to the microwave as 5-year property in the left picture, and I would probably leave it as a general outlet in the right picture. You're not going to plug anything into the outlet on the left side. You could plug in a coffee machine, whatever you want on the picture on the right. So that's just what I would do. Television outlets, and more recently, you know, these are popping up everywhere, right? USB outlets. Technically, your television outlet, you can plug anything into, but it's right next to the cable jack. It was put there specifically for a television, and you can see to the right, there's even another outlet right there for general use. So our firm would take the outlet as a TV outlet. USB outlets a little different, but we do take those as well as 5-year because they're there to charge cell phones, iPads, that kind of stuff, which is personal property. So right or wrong, that's what we do. Ceiling fans, generally we take these as well. Brings up a good argument of whether an apartment, especially a room, needs general lighting, right? Because most of them have general outlets for lamps and other kind of lighting. Obviously, if there was a ceiling mounted light in that room as well, you'd have a better argument. But, you know, that's just kind of a discussion every firm needs to do for itself. I would probably argue that a room like that doesn't need general lighting. pendant lighting. On the left picture, you see there's a ceiling mounted light. So I would take all that accent lighting as 100% 5-year property. On the right photo, you can see track lighting and a pendant light, but you don't see any other general lighting. So the 27.5-year or 5. Again, I would make the argument that it's all decorative in nature and 5-year. Other tax planning ideas for residential real estate?
Hey, Eric?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Before you move on to another topic, we had a bunch of questions come in. Do you want to take those now?
Sure.
Okay. First one, site analysis. Perform analysis of site prep and earthwork. What are you looking for?
Excavation and site prep for the actual building. Obviously, all the other site work needs site prep as well, but we would argue that the site prep and excavation for the actual building is 27.5-year property.
Okay. Next question. Disagree with the 15-year fire hydrant. The fire hydrant serves the building in case of a fire. It doesn't serve as a land improvement.
Okay.
All right. Next one was building millwork and finished carpentry. When would ceiling ever be 5-year and not 27.5?
I don't think there's any way, unless it was a decorative acoustical that's lowered below the actual ceiling, doesn't have any ductwork in it, decorative in nature, like the photo I kind of showed with that. But rarely would I ever take a ceiling as 5-year property.
Last one for now is what type of camera do you use?
iPhone 11. It takes just as good pictures for me, videos as any other camera.
All right, that's all of them for now.
All right, thank you, Ed. Back to tax planning ideas. 45L hasn't been extended yet. It was part of the Build Back Better plan by Biden. I think it got through one and was turned down by the other, so it's currently just kind of hanging out there. There's a current proposal out there extending it through 2031. I think everybody wants to get it done. It will probably get done. Steve Nanos probably wants it to get done. So who qualifies for this credit? It's a $2,000 per dwelling with energy consumption levels significantly less than the national standards. Who qualifies? Single family homes, multifamily developments 3 stories above grade or less, additional dwelling units, assisted living, student housing, and substantial reconstruction or rehab projects. Section 179D, on the other hand, is a permanent deduction now. So that's great news. It's a tax deduction for energy efficient buildings. You may receive up to $1.8 per square foot deduction if they qualify for all 3 sections: building envelope, HVAC, and electrical. Somebody actually told me they raised it to $1.82. I don't know if that's correct. I couldn't find anything on that for inflation purposes. For residential properties, they must be 4 stories or higher to qualify. Repairs and maintenance, obviously, right? Costs are deductible as repairs, but they are incidental in nature. Repairs and maintenance are incurred to keep property in ordinarily efficient operating condition over its probable useful life for the uses for which it was acquired. Common repairs and maintenance: painting, new roof if similar in nature and nothing structural was replaced, replacing under 30% of any building system if it's not a betterment, and any regular maintenance or cleaning done throughout the property. Capitalized versus expense on repairs and maintenance. Scenario 1, Client purchases a residential apartment complex and immediately replaces the roof. So in that instance, I would capitalize new roof and figure out a value and dispose of old roof. Can't really do much there. You knew you bought the building knowing that you had to replace the roof immediately. So can't really expense it. It's not a repair. Scenario 2, several years earlier, client purchased a residential apartment complex and now replaces an asphalt shingle roof with a similar shingle roof. I would expense the new roof under R&M regs and keep depreciating old roof. Unallowed tax benefits for residential real estate, section 179. Residential and non-residential income is excluded from the definition of active trade or business. Therefore, section 179 deductions are inapplicable to residential rental income. And obviously, the big one, QIP, right? Unfortunately, no, it's actually in the definition that it's not, it has to be non-residential. Why did they specifically exclude this industry? I think it was created to retail and restaurant buildings to, create a positive economic development for them. Obviously, real estate's doing very well, probably doesn't need more tax shelters. And the last thing we have is the court case that sits out there, right? We've all heard about this. We all know about it. Amerisouth. Taxpayer sold the property and stopped representing the case. Taxpayer concluded that issue was not resolved and it was conceded by the taxpayer. And 1250 property defined in the case: site prep and earthwork, water distribution systems, sanitary sewer, gas line, site electric, kitchen vent hoods, kitchen sinks and garbage disposals, laundry trench or floor drains, obviously the big one here, finished carpentry and millwork, painting, and interior windows and mirrors. Case is generally ignored by most cost seg professionals because it wasn't properly represented, but you should definitely make your client aware, especially if they do a lot of projects with you, that there is risk there. Obviously, kitchen cabinetry, sinks, garbage disposal, and vent hoods. I would probably argue 5-year property. And if you look out there, you'll see on the internet that there's articles about IRS hiring anywhere from 5 to 10,000 people. I highly doubt that all those people they're hiring is to get your tax return filed in a timely manner. I myself would think that there would be more audits of cost seg and low-hanging fruit like residential real estate with this case. We'll see, right? And poll number 3, Ed.
Yeah. It's loading. Interesting. I think we're there.
To get back to the fire hydrant example, I didn't mean to shy away from your question. Just different firms have different views on what is 27.5 and 15, and there's risk with everything, but you just kind of have to take a stance and be able to back it up if need be. But your argument does make sense.
We have another question here. Would there be any time that wood flooring would qualify as 5-year property?
Rarely do you see it, especially in residential cases. I wouldn't take it. I would take luxury vinyl plank, which obviously you see a lot more of, but maybe in some older apartments there's wood flooring. I wouldn't take on that risk.
Folks, if you have a question, please go ahead and type them into that questions area and we'll get them read to Eric. Something I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you do want CPE for this session, please send me an email. Let me know that you need it. We have one more question came in. What about engineered wood if it's a luxury apartment?
I would think you'd have a good case there, yeah.
Another question. I have a question on condo site improvements. Okay, Brian. I don't know what the rest of your question was, Brian. Okay. Summit, what are your thoughts on medicine cabinets?
Medicine cabinets, if it's in, obviously it's in the bathroom, right? I kind of leave almost everything that's in the bathroom as 27.5 year. Obviously, I think you have a good argument at 5 years if you would like to take that.
Okay. The second half of Brian's question was, I'll read the whole thing. If I have a question on condo site improvements, are they with the owner or HOA?
That's a good question. I don't get into many condo projects. I have done some dental condos, and I would probably argue that a percentage of land and a percentage of land improvements should go to that acquisition. But as far as condos, that's not a space we regularly see for cost setting.
Couple more questions here. Are vanity lights at bathroom qualified for 5-year property?
I think generally they're removable, decorative in nature, and if you have some more other sort of lighting in there, a recess down or whatever, I would probably take it, yes. But everybody's gonna have their own answer to that question.
Another one, do you address an intangibles value in a purchase price?
We don't know.
Another one, do you take the shelving in pantry and closets?
That's 5-year property, absolutely, yep.
Okay, getting through these pretty quick. Any other questions out there, folks?
The tough part about all those questions is everybody's gonna have their own answer. You just need to be able to back it up with some kind of research in case of an audit.
Okay, another question came in. Is the swimming pool for swimming school qualified for 5-year property?
Is it interior? If it's interior, it would not.
I'm gonna make a slight statement here that we need to get to 50 minutes for this to qualify for CPE. So please ask your questions. Thoughts on increased audit activity in AmeriSouth in light of recent audit techniques guide?
My thoughts on increased audit activity in AmeriSouth in light of recent. We haven't received any increase in audits, but I have heard some in the industry. So I'm just kind of keeping my eyes and ears out there, right? And so I haven't myself seen an increased audit, but I have heard of it in the industry.
Would any of the attendees like Eric to maybe go back some slides and repeat another area? Question, can you repeat the interior swimming pool question and answer? I think this is man, this thing is hard to read. Is the swimming pool for swimming school qualify for 5-year property?
It's structural in nature. I probably wouldn't take it as 5-year property. But if you have a good argument and you can back it up, go for it. Is the pool on the 4th floor of a building? 4th floor roof of a building that will qualify as 5-year and not 15. Again, I wouldn't take that stance. I think the only thing we take on roofs is by your property is a green roof, which you'll see a lot in newer construction. Don't see a lot in older acquisition property. Are you taking light poles as personal property, especially in the age of 15-year property qualifying for 100% bonus on the federal level? We won't touch that. We've lost that in an audit before. And that was from John Hoffman. I think we might have lost that in an audit together.
These things they're moving faster than I can read them.
I can read them, so you're good.
Okay.
For the fire hydrant question related to real property, does it serve the building or the property? I would think it would be 15-year, but what are your thoughts? I agree that it's 15-year. It's not directly serving the building. Rebecca made a really good argument that it's there for building protection, but we take it as 15-year. Any other examples you can provide of when you can take a repair expense? Painting is the obvious one. Anytime you see painting, it's a really good just to expense that. Replacing a certain amount of HVAC units in the building. We don't do repairs on if you replace water closets because you're replacing kind of one of one. So you have to look at the definitions of repairs and maintenance, but it's kind of like just regular normal maintenance to a building. Okay. P-tax we take as 27.5 year. They're there to provide general heating and cooling for the apartment. P-mountable bypass, bifold closet doors, or single barn doors. You get where you're going with that question. We don't touch it though. It's 27.5 year for us, but I get where you're coming from. Swimming pool, on roof, land improvement, or structural component. That's a great question. I would take it as a land improvement. I recently had a client that did one and was wondering if they could take it as a land improvement, but they had a glass enclosure over it. So I had to tell them that it would be a stretch to take it as 15, but under normal circumstances in an open area, I think you have a good argument there. Would you take retention pond as land improvements? Yes, I would, 100%. It's there for the storm sewer drainage. For the green roof, correct. Only if there's some sort of roofing system below it, which I can't imagine. Maybe there is some that don't have any roofing systems below it, but I would assume that there's a roofing system below it and some drainage, right? Well, thank you all for your questions. My contact information is there. If you need any follow-up questions, Ed, I think we're good on the 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and hopefully a lot of you will be on the next session at 2 o'clock. I'm going to shut us all down now. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.